There's a moment that happens at every social gathering, usually around the 90-minute mark. The conversation is still going, people are laughing, someone's refilling their drink, and somewhere inside you, quietly, without drama, a countdown has already started. Not because you're bored, because you're full. You've absorbed enough, and you already know exactly how long the drive home needs to be before you feel like yourself again. Most people call this introversion and stop there. Psychology goes somewhere much more specific, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. You don't hate people, you're not antisocial, you're not broken in some quiet way you've never admitted out loud. What you are is sensitive to volume, not sound volume, input volume, the accumulated weight of other people's energy, emotion, and presence sitting inside your nervous system long after you've left the room. But here's what most people get wrong. They treat this like a social preference. It isn't. It's a biological architecture, and it was never a choice. Researchers call this sensory processing sensitivity, and the label matters. Because people with this wiring don't experience less of the world than others, they experience more. Every conversation carries subtext they're already reading. Every room has a mood they've already felt. Every interaction leaves a residue. That's not weakness. That's a nervous system running more processes per second than most people ever realize about themselves. This often forms early. For people who grew up in environments where emotional unpredictability was normal, where reading the room wasn't a social skill, it was a survival skill, the brain learned to stay alert, to monitor everything, to absorb before acting. Solitude became the place where all that processing could finally exhale. And here's where it gets interesting. That need never disappeared. It just became part of the architecture. The brain's arousal system in highly sensitive people responds more intensely to external stimulation. In plain terms, you feel the room at higher volume than most people do. Solitude isn't withdrawal, it's regulation. Your nervous system isn't underperforming, it's doing more work than almost anyone around you recognizes. The reason you pull away from people isn't coldness. It's the same depth of processing that makes you unusually perceptive, the same wiring that lets you notice what others miss, feel what others overlook, understand people at a level they sometimes can't articulate about themselves. The issue was never that you feel too deeply. It's that the world wasn't designed with your resolution in mind. So you built your own system. Solitude was the foundation. You were never too much. You were surrounded by people who didn't have the capacity to hold the depth you were quietly carrying. And somewhere along the way, you started mistaking that mismatch for a flaw in yourself. It wasn't. The way you move through the world, carefully, selectively, at your own pace and depth, that was never something to fix. It was always something to understand. And once you understand it, you stop apologizing for it entirely. If this explained you more accurately than you expected, send it to someone who's ever made you feel like you needed to be more social, more present, more open. Not to argue, just so they finally understand what's actually been happening inside you.